call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. Let's go.
Hey machos, it's me, Soncerae Monique here, and welcome to the Black Macho Podcast. We talk about Black excellence here, Black wealth, and Black business. And it's been a long time coming. I should have been started talking about this stuff. I've been an entrepreneur for many years, but honestly, I felt like no one was really appreciating that kind of content. I was getting low views anytime I talked about it. And this is a big step for me because I had to give up and sacrifice a lot in order to switch into this niche. I've talked about relationships a lot on this channel within the Black community, and this channel is for the Black community. And a lot of times other people of other races come onto this channel and they're like, "You're so racist," and I'm like, no, I'm just supportive of my own race on this channel. Like, I can make content for other races of people on Instagram, on TikTok, like I often do. But the Black Macho YouTube channel is for African Americans, and I would appreciate it if people of other colors would respect that and understand that this specific platform is for a specific group of person. And I'm sorry if you feel offended, but there are plenty of other spaces on YouTube that you can, invest your time and energy into. Speaking of investing, I just started my Patreon again. I only got like 5 or 6 members, but before I used to have maybe 17. I'm trying to get 10,000, and that is so hard to do. I'm not going to front. That has been difficult for me, and I felt like a lot of the people that used to be a part of my audience, a lot of them were kind of on some low energy stuff to begin with, or they simply just didn't know anything about financial independence or literacy. So it's kind of like up to me to be like, okay, let me teach this. And so that's what I've been doing. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to do this, to start talking about the financial market more, because I feel like inside of the Black community, a lot of people don't understand it. So anyway, I want to talk about the housing market right quick. So my partner DW was talking about the housing market and how everything is so expensive because I was looking for a new house. And I love living in Northern California. It's some cheap places to live here, but for the most part, it's expensive to live here. I think the most expensive house I've seen was, $25 million. I think what the houses are worth right now, like the housing median, is $1.2 million. Housing is expensive in general. I've read plenty of articles about the housing market right now and how renting or even just buying a home is like unheard of for a lot of people right now. Like, a lot of people aren't able to do it. And I made a video just recently about the NACA program, because the NACA program is like pushed into the faces of African Americans so much. And to me, that's like detrimental, because the NACA program is just basically teaching you how to buy a product from the bank and for you to be attached to this product for another 30 years. Honestly, that would be a good idea if you want to one day use your home equity in order to purchase another property and rent that property out. But because the market is the way that it is right now, a lot of people can't even really rent new homes or even buy new homes. It's that bad. The housing market is terrible. I think just in California in general, not my area, but the median here in California, I think, is $800,000. In the Bay Area, there's this place called Atherton, and it's one of the most expensive places to buy a home. The median listing home price there is about $12 million. So what is the best investment you can make? Some people will tell you a single family home. Some people will tell you a multi-family unit. But as I'm continuing to look at the housing market, it's just like, oh my God, who wants to buy either or at this point? So if we dive deep into a passive asset class, we'll start looking at things like mobile home parks. It's low maintenance. All you have to do is take care of the landscaping and the waste management. It's a steady income. It has tax benefits, and the property appreciates. With market and fluctuations, you can still maintain land. It's dirt. And guess who needs dirt? People who have RVs and campers. And with the cost of living being the way that it is in America, a lot of people are about to be considering that van life. A lot of people are starting to live off of the grid. So honestly, what I think the best investment you can make is buying a plot of land. Yeah, getting a single family home for your family is a good investment. And to some degree, it becomes a liability sometimes. When you think about 30 years from now, you look at the market now the way that it is. If you sign on a mortgage for 30 years, once that 30 years goes by, you got a house sitting there that needs a shit ton of renovations, you could do an equity loan for those renovations and start renting that house out, not necessarily sell it. A lot of people think selling their home is a good idea, but then it's like, where are you going to live? You can't live in the same environment because the neighborhood has appreciated in value. You basically have the same amount of money. You know what I mean? It's just like say for instance, if your house was $500,000 when you got it and now it's worth $1 million, it's like, okay, where can I live now that I have $1 million? You're going to have to live in a place cheaper than the place that you was living in. So basically it's like a step backwards. Like if you was living in a fancy dancy neighborhood and your house was worth $500,000 when you got it, now you're going to have to go to a cheaper neighborhood, which is not as up to par as the neighborhood that you was living in. So it's just like, to me, I don't think that buying a single family home makes sense. I think buying a multifamily unit makes more sense. Then there's some people out there who have a family. They're like, yo, I just want for my family to have a place to live. And I'm like, okay, well, here's what I think as far as that goes. If you are a man, right, and you are looking for a wife, or if you have a wife and you have some children, my suggestion to you would be build a family compound. Are you a man over 30? Maybe you have a wife, some kids, or maybe you are considering it right now. My suggestion to you, buy a family compound.
This is a family compound. It's when you buy your own plot of land and build a small neighborhood of homes for you, your parents, your brothers, your kids, and your grandkids to help each other out. Family compounds were the standard throughout human history. But once World War II ended, veterans started using government loans to buy into suburban developments that split the family compound apart. This shift from compound family living to nuclear family living resulted in a weakened family unit.
It's good for family bonding and support. Everyone shares expenses and taking care of the land. It's convenient and 9 times out of 10 coordinated. Everyone shares responsibilities. You're safe and secure 9 times out of 10 around your family. Yes, some of us have a black sheep. I'm the black sheep in mine. You can pool resources, and it simplifies estate planning and inheritance matters. That's for people that can deal with like communion living, interdependence. A lot of people want to be super duper independent, subscribing to individualism. And usually when it's one family, the entire family basically has the same core values, so it's kind of easy to live together. But when you blend a family, like when you try to put all your baby mamas on one land, I don't know about that, sir, because there's different lifestyles and preferences. And then you got family members that may be dependents, like they grown but they still relying on you for everything, so that might create imbalance or like tension. But when you weigh the pros and cons of what's happening in the world right now, a family compound is the best way to go. Buy a plot of land. And that may seem hard for somebody that doesn't have a decent savings account. You have to have a decent savings account, because even if you was to get a savings account and take out a loan to buy some land in a cheap area, maybe like Wyoming, the way that Kanye West did, you still would have to put down 20% of whatever land that you're trying to buy. And the average person doesn't have money sitting around to just buy land. You feel what I'm talking about? Like, it's just not, no. I honestly feel like that's the best thing that you can do. Buy land. And I've always said this, like I've been saying this for years. I've actually been begging my daughter to get her real estate license. She was looking at me like, real estate is boring. I was like, I'm not asking you to get your real estate license because real estate is like fun. I'm asking you that so you can prepare for your future and you can have, you know, properties. You can have something to flip, sis. There's this guy I follow on Instagram. He owns 75 homes. And I'd be like, how could you even keep up with 75 homes just yourself? You know what I mean? Like, you have to have like a staff, you know, especially if you have tenants renting from you in those 75 homes. And then I factored in where he lives at, because it's just like, if you got 75 homes and you live in the desert, it's not valuable to me. Like, I always think about how many people say they own all of these homes, and then you think about where they own the home at. Like, it's no water, Tornadoes are always happening. Hurricanes are happening all the time. And we could say that about California. Like, people think California is the place for earthquakes. But I've been here for about 5 years, going on 6, and I rarely feel the earthquakes. I think it's because I've been here so long. Like, I haven't felt them as much. I remember my first year here, I felt them a lot. And then my third year here, I felt them a lot. But now I barely feel them. Like, I'm barely, I don't feel them at all. But I think if I lived on the fault line, like if I lived in like Fremont, because I used to live in Fremont when I first got here, but Fremont, California, you kind of feel the little quakes sometimes. But where I live now, I don't feel the earthquakes. But if you own a whole bunch of homes in an area where it's difficult to live, where it's like dusty, it's like not a city, or you know what I mean? It's like, is that impressive really? You gotta take a dirt road to get there, and if you call 911, it takes an hour for them to get to your house. Like, stuff like that, to me, that's not impressive. Like, if you're off the grid and you have no way to like have access to life, civilization, really, is that a flex? I guess it just depends on who you are as a person. Like I said about Kanye West, Kanye West wanted that type of privacy. If you're the type of person that wants that type of privacy and you know how to live off of the grid, then you're good. Here are 10 real life things a valuable man should know how to do. Number 1, he needs to be self-sufficient, meaning he knows how to grow his own food, raise his own animals, and harvest water through rainwater collection. Next, he understands how to use solar panels or turbines. He needs to know how to operate hydroelectric systems in order to generate power. Next, he knows how to build sustainable structures, meaning he can construct energy sufficient and sustainable buildings using eco-friendly materials, like tiny houses, earthships, or log cabins. Next, remember when I was talking about rainwater collection? He needs to really know how to manage water. He needs to know how to establish a sewage disposal system. He needs to know how to conserve water, composting toilets and septic tanks. It would also be helpful if he understood food production. Basically, he has learned sustainable farming methods. He knows how to grow a variety of crops. Next, he is prepared for emergencies, meaning he has stocked up on enough food and medical supplies. He has a communication plan when there is a natural disaster. Next, he is educated and skilled, and I mean in gardening, carpentry, and basic medical knowledge. Next, he has a massive amount of adaptability, meaning he's prepared for challenges and extreme weather. He understands what to do in case of a wildlife encounter. He can deal with isolation. He would be very successful if he lived life on the land. Speaking of land, the last thing he definitely needs to know how to do is have environmental stewardship. He practices responsible land management to minimize environmental impact. That's how you know a man is a real man. All that other stuff y'all be talking about, I don't know. That right there proves he's a man. So the housing market is driven by supply and demand. The supply of houses that are available for sale or rent. You have like price fluctuations, like housing prices can fluctuate based on various factors such as economic conditions, interest rates, location, like I said, the economic conditions, government policies and regulations, real estate cycles, housing affordability, housing inventory, housing types, investments and speculation, technical influence. I remember when I was looking for a house a couple of years ago, all of the houses were like smart houses. They were like the hardest homes to get into. The new builds to me are the hardest houses to get into. I noticed that your credit had to be like at a 750. The new builds are so close together, like you're inside of this subdivision and this is your house, and then the new build, it's like, what's that little walkway right there? Like, how is that private? They usually put the new builds in prevalent and growing or developing areas where it's like a demand for housing. Because I live in the Bay Area, it's extremely expensive. So a lot of the people who live in San Francisco on the peninsula, they're moving out to the suburbs. In the suburbs, they're building a lot of new homes. Those homes are in high demand and it's a lot of competition. Your savings account has to be immaculate. Your credit has to be immaculate for them to allow you to live in one. If you don't have the availability to get a loan, or you don't meet the down payment requirements, your interest rates are going to be ridiculous. And who wants a house that has an interest rate over like 20%? A lot of times those units are reserved like in a pre-sale period. Don't get me started on the government incentive programs. I see some people on social media teaching other people how to get homes via Section 8 and with the NACA program together. Yeah, I'm for government incentives if it's about starting a business or something, but for some reason, I just don't trust the government incentives when it's about getting homes or when we're talking about government assistance programs. To me, it seems like when you go through the government, you are going to get the bare minimum. You're looking for the government to help you with home purchases, and they're supposedly trying to make it easier for certain types of people. It's usually a harder process and it takes longer. Every time I see something like this, it annoys me. NACA program this, NACA program that. It'd be like bad credit, no money down, making it seem like it's an easy free house to get. It's like, what's the agenda behind this? Something is not quite right about this. The NACA program is nothing but a program that will teach you how to be eligible to buy a product from the bank. And it helps you to like buy this ball and chain that you're going to be stuck with for the next 30 years. Listen, a mortgage is basically you just buying some money. Now, buying money is a good idea if you plan on investing that money into something else to make more money. That makes sense to me. And I love renting. I think I want to rent something until I'm finished with it. But there's a lot of people out there that have a family, so they want to buy property for their family to live in and to be able to pass down to their children. So being a homeowner is good, especially if you want to get a home equity loan, but only if you're trying to borrow against your equity so you can get another investment property. So basically what they do is approve you for 30% of your income. It's supposedly 100% financing. They'll pay your closing costs, basically 5% of your mortgage amount, pay your appraisal fees and attorney's fees. They also make sure that you get a low interest rate. But sometimes if you're not careful, that process will take forever. We're talking years here. So it's not like you're going to get a house next month, especially if your savings isn't incredible. You cannot sit there and try to use your rental history and that's it. You actually have to have a lot in your savings. So that means your rent amount and how much is in your savings. If it's more than 30% of whatever type of house you're trying to get, it'll be easy for you to get a house. But if your savings is jacked up and you haven't been saving, like say for instance, if your rent is $2,000, if you haven't been saving $3,000 a month, then they won't be interested in giving you a house. So how much you put in your savings each month has to be more than what your rent is. And if you are making under $70,000 a year, it's still going to be difficult for you to get a house. So when they promote it to you guys and they make it seem like it's easy, it's not. The NACA program is not easy. They are just a liaison. And a lot of the stuff that they teach you in their program, you can easily learn. There's a lot of free information on the internet. You just got to find a way that is packaged that works for you. So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that it's something you shouldn't do. But I'm only telling you why it annoys me, because to me, it seems like it's all hype, like it's bigger than what it truly is. You got to remember, the more money you have, the more that you have in your savings, the better your credit is, the easier it is for you to get access to anything. I think what also annoyed me about the housing market is having to deal with so many different realtors. There was this time that I was looking at this place in Ruby Hill. Now, Ruby Hill is like this winery in Livermore, California. The median home price in Livermore is probably 1.1 million with the median price per square foot of like $600. So I was looking at Ruby Hill Winery for a home. I think Ruby Hill Winery is owned by this guy named Mike Callahan. They have like a golf course next to it. It's a beautiful place. These special events, it's always like weddings there, and I always loved going in there. Living in a private country club sound great, don't it? But I was thinking about living there, and one of the properties that I was like looking at, the realtor that I got, him and the broker somehow was both trying to sell me this property. Now, a real estate broker and a real estate agent are both professionals involved in the real estate industry, but they have different roles and responsibilities. A real estate agent is a licensed professional who assists buyers and sellers in real estate transactions. They work under supervision of the real estate broker. In my case, the real estate broker and the real estate agent didn't even know each other. I was confused. This is why I don't like looking for houses on Zillow, because there's something about Zillow that I'm not quite feeling comfortable about. A real estate broker is a high-level licensed professional who works inside of the real estate industry, and they have gone through like education and training and licensing beyond what a real estate agent would. They have the authority to work independently or start their own real estate brokerage firm. I was like confused because when I got to the house in Ruby Hill, it had her name on it, and it's almost like my real estate agent had nothing to do with it. seem to be like confused or not on the same page, and I think it's because they didn't know each other. Like, I think if he was a real estate agent that worked for the real estate broker, then it probably would have been a better situation. But there are benefits and drawbacks of looking for houses online. Okay, so, and preferably I do not like Zillow, right? Because sometimes when you're looking for properties on Zillow, they have you fill out like this form, and then you have to pay like $30, and then you have to keep paying like these application fees in order for your application to be viewed by a real estate agent or a homeowner. So the Zillow listing, it gets exposure to like millions of people, right? It gives a lot of consumers access to the home. It's kind of good for agents, right, when they're really looking for someone. But then again, you got quality but not quantity people. So if you're a real estate agent, Zillow might seem like, like hard, like it's not a good look. Also, the Zillow property valuations tool I think they're using is Zestimate, and it's not always accurate. It'll show you a listing, and it'll show you another person that's supposedly posted the listing, but that's not necessarily true. The agent that you see doesn't even really know about the property sometimes. I think that's what happened when I went to Ruby Hill. A lot of people don't want to really Zillow surf when they're looking for a house. Now, I like Redfin. Which one of these apps is like good when you're looking for a house? Trulia, I used Trulia app, and the Trulia app had a lot of the same properties that Zillow had, and it was like the same process. It was like, how is this any different from Zillow? Personally, I want to look at sale by owner properties. I don't even want to deal with a real estate agent. HomeSnap is one, Realtor.com is one. The problem is when you click on contact agent, you will not go to the listing agent, but instead a local agent who has paid for a lead service. I mean, what's a good home buying app? I have been looking for houses so long, I decided to take a break. I remember one time in a 3-month period, we went to see 125 houses. I was like, oh my God. Look, I'm sick of looking at houses. Like, I've seen so many different houses. I was like, I'm done. And then when a lot of times the realtors won't even allow you to look at the home until you pay for the application fee. So imagine if you were looking at 125 houses and the application fee for each one is $35 or sometimes $99. Imagine paying that 125 times. 35 times 125 is $4,375. So if you're looking to buy a new home right now, I think that's a terrible idea. But if you are, you have to be financially prepared. That means you have to have a decent budget. Your savings needs to be immaculate. Your credit needs to be as immaculate as you can get it. That down payment needs to be 20%. Credit score needs to be at least 650. Yeah, I will wait until I get like a 700, but 650. Find you a reputable and experienced real estate agent. You might have to bend on what kind of house you want and where you want it at. I'm telling you, every house I looked at, something was wrong. This one house had a fountain in front of it, and I was like, I hate houses that have a fountain in front of it. I don't know what it is. I hate houses that have a fountain in front of it. Like, I just can't. Like, please, like, no. I can do the circle driveway, drive in, you drive out. I like that. I like koi ponds in front of a house or in the backyard, but a fountain, no. Anyway, make sure you get a home inspection. Make sure you get appraised. Like, you got to have your individual person. And we're talking about when you're looking for a luxury home, not just any home randomly. I mean, like, if you are spending, oh my God, way too much money on a house, a single family home, get an appraisal. Even if you're getting a multi-family unit, get an appraisal. Always negotiate the price, and once your offer is like accepted, you enter into escrow and you work with your agent and your lender to fulfill any necessary requirements or contingencies. Close the deal by signing the paperwork. Here's one thing that I failed to do anytime I was looking for a house: moving. Like, oh Lord. I mean, the best thing I've ever done is simply hired some movers. Like, I used to like move everything on my own, or me and my family would come together and move everything on our own. But I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that this time. So I basically just hired movers for $300 for 2 hours. Hired movers, and it would usually only take them 2 hours to move everything out of my house and put it into a storage, or take it out to storage and put it into the house. Like, so for $300, movers, it's just better for me. Like, no more moving on my own. I did that in my early 20s. I used to just move. I came here in California with just my suitcase, my purse, and my little pregnant belly. It still shocks me how much stuff I have accumulated in 6 years. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Also, we have Macho merch. So remember that when you buy Macho merch, your merch perch goes to charity. Sign up to my Patreon if you would like to support my podcast. If you are a woman and you're looking for more information on finance, I have a YouTube channel called Lux Lady Wealth. You can go to luxladywealth.com and check out any of my personal finance ebooks. If you would like to schedule a one-on-one with me so we can sit down and discuss your financial health, please do so. You can go to the website to schedule a one-on-one with me. My suggestion is always to buy my ebooks first. If you have any entrepreneurial, business, or finance questions, please feel free to ask me. Thanks for watching. Bye.